This is the future. After the Second American Civil War resulted in the loss of millions of lives, the United States found itself weakened and came under nuclear attack from Russia. Retaliation was swift and brutal. The Third World War was very brief, but its aftermath left the planet devastated. After the war, society completely collapsed. Governing structures were decimated, and only a few organized governmental forces remained. But our time is running out. Epidemics spread unchecked. With the breakdown of power networks, a total blackout has ensued, and every computer on Earth has become disabled. Humanity is now on a downward spiral towards the Dark Ages. Using our last technological resources, we set out to travel back in time and attempt to change the past in order to avoid the apocalypse. But it seems every single timeline converges to this event. So, we traveled into the future, but on every timeline we explored, after the year 2564, there seems to be no trace of humanity left on Earth. We realized that, in order to save humanity, the only thing we can do is rebuild. The key to our survival lies in an early piece of technology. My mission is to retrieve it, at any cost.
From the high desert and the great American Southwest, I bid you good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the universe, the world. I'm Art Bell.
On July 20th, 1998, Art Bell was running open timelines on his radio show Midnight in the Desert on Coast to Coast AM. He invited those among his listeners who claimed to be time travelers to call into the show and tell the world their story.
You're on Coast to Coast. Hi there.
My name is Gordon. I'm a theoretical physicist. I work at a research facility.
You are on the air. Hello.
Hello, Art.
Are you a time traveler?
Well, yeah, something happened to me because of your show.
You are on the air. Hi.
I've been recently scaring the hell out of my neighbors with capacitive discharge and microwave RF plasma generation experiments.
As usual, the segment attracted plenty of weirdos. Some of them telling about strange experiences they had had, and others claiming to be time travelers from the year 3000. But as the show went on, the radio station received a fax, which Art Bell proceeded to read on air.
Dear Art, I had a fax when I heard other time travelers calling in from any time past the year 2500 AD. Please let me explain. Time travel was invented in 2034.
Offshoots of certain successful fusion reactor research allowed scientists at CERN to produce the world's first self-contained singularity engine. The basic design involves rotating singularities inside a magnetic field. By altering the speed and direction of rotation, you can travel both forward and backward in time. Time itself can be understood in terms of connected lines. When you go back in time, you travel on your original timeline. When you turn your singularity engine off, a new timeline is created due to the fact that you and your time machine are now there. Some interesting outcomes of this are 1. You meet yourself. 2. You can alter history in a new universe that you have just created. Unfortunately, it was also discovered that anyone going forward in time hit a brick wall in the year 2564.
The message goes on to explain that the event which will trigger humanity's downfall will begin in the year 2000 with the Y2K bug. This will result in widespread disaster, blackouts all over the country and martial law being implemented in America. In the aftermath, a new form of communal government emerges, marking the end of the Constitution. The letter also touches on significant global events: China's reclamation of Taiwan, a major lasting conflict in the Middle East, and Russia experiencing a nuclear winter. The message left Art and his listeners perplexed, but the show carried on. A few days later, a second fax came through.
Dear Mr. Bell, as I said before, I am a time traveler. I have been on this world line since April of this year, and I plan to leave soon. Typically, time travelers do not purposely affect the world lines they visit. However, this mission is unusually long, and I've grown attached to some of the people I have met here. I realize my claims are a bit difficult to accept, so I will send the following, once I know you have received this fax. A few pages from the operations manual of my time machine, and a few colored photographs of my vehicle. I will be more than happy to share with you the nature of time, the physics of time travel, and some of the events of your future, in the hopes this information will help your timeline.
This was the last time Art would hear from the man. The pictures and the information about the time machine never came. Everyone had questions. Time passed, and the year 2000 came and went. The Y2K scare was a big nothing. Although a few computers experienced minor glitches, the doomsday predictions didn't come true. But 2 years later, the mystery would deepen. The early 2000s saw the beginning of a new era in digital communication. Before the widespread adoption of social media platforms in the early 2010s, online forums were one of the primary means through which people interacted on the web. Online message boards were the Facebooks and Twitters of their time. This is where people shared information and built communities on the internet. On January 27, 2001, on a forum called the Time Travel Institute, a user by the name of John Titor submitted his first post. The message read, "Greetings, I am a time traveler from the year 2036.
I am on my way home, after getting an IBM 5100 computer system from the year 1975. My time machine is a stationary mass temporal displacement unit manufactured by General Electric. The unit is powered by two top-spin positive singularities that produce a standard offset Tipler sinusoid. I will be happy to post pictures."
And this time, the proof came. Over the course of the following weeks, John Titor provided detailed diagrams and descriptions of his time machine. He explains that time travel is discovered by scientists at CERN in the year 2034. This leads General Electric to subsequently develop an operational time machine. He goes on to describe the device in great depth, getting into specifics such as a system called VGL, or Variable Gravity Lock System, which compensates for the rotation of the Earth. Since the time machine is stationary, without it, the time traveler would end up in outer space due to the rotation of the Earth around the Sun. John Titor's claims about time travel and its underlying science are detailed and complex, many explanations being based on actual theoretical physics concepts. The post became a phenomenon, sparking many people's curiosity. Titor encourages the users to ask him questions, and many do. He describes America's future and the trials which will come upon the world. A second civil war in the United States which lasts for 10 years. After that, World War III decimates the planet as major powers engage in nuclear exchanges, with major American cities being completely destroyed. Every computer goes offline due to the lack of an electrical grid. Early new communities form around universities, because that is where the libraries are. The military is ever present, and martial law is in effect. Most people spend their time working in the fields and farms. He also went into detail about his mission. Many were intrigued by the reason he needed an old computer from 1975, but his explanation made sense. As computers went offline after the nuclear war, this specific piece of technology was required to debug legacy Unix computer code in order to rebuild technology. Yet, many users remained skeptical of Titor and questioned his claims, but he didn't care.
My goal is not to be believed. Most people do not take news of the war very well, but I find that everyone believes it's inevitable. I watch every day what you are doing as a society. You willfully eat poisoned food, buy manufactured products no one needs, and turn an uncaring eye away from millions of people suffering and dying all around you. Perhaps I should let you all in on a little secret. No one likes you in the future. This time period is looked at as being full of lazy, self-centered, civically ignorant sheep. Perhaps you should be less concerned about me and more concerned about that.
Then came John Titor's last post.
I will be leaving this world line shortly, and this will be my final post. There are only a handful of people who will know exactly when I will be leaving, and I'm sure they will let you know when I'm gone. I have been paying a great deal of attention to your world line. My interaction with you was not a direct mission parameter, but it was a secondary mission protocol based on standing orders given to all temporal drivers. That secondary objective is basically to gather as much information about a world line based on a set of observable variables when we first arrive. Your world line met those conditions. What amazes me is why no one here wonders why Y2K didn't hit them at all.
John Titor was never heard from again. The true identity behind the John Titor story remains a topic of speculation and debate. Over the years, various theories have emerged regarding who was responsible for the posts on the time traveler forums. Titor offered detailed descriptions of his time travel technology, including diagrams and technical explanations. His claims about time travel and the scientific principles he cited have been the subject of much scrutiny. The whole story seems to follow the multiple worlds theory, and in his posts, Titor displays a deep knowledge of general relativity and quantum physics. His quest for an IBM 5100 computer seems like something pulled out of a science fiction novel. Titor claimed that this unit was required to debug legacy Unix code, which becomes inoperable in the future, and this is actually true. Programs written in Unix code only have the ability to keep time until January 19, 2038, at which point they go offline. Many years after the release of the 5100, IBM disclosed that the computer had a hidden feature which allowed it to do exactly this task. However, many of his other claims don't align with current scientific knowledge and remain the subject of speculation. In 2009, an investigation by an Italian television program suggested that Larry Haber and his brother Maury Haber were behind the John Titor story. Larry had ties to Hollywood. This could explain the similarities between John Titor's story and the plot of the Terminator movie franchise. For his part, Maury Haber was a computer scientist, which would explain his knowledge of the hidden function inside the IBM 5100. The investigation also looked into the Haber brothers' involvement in the creation of the very lucrative John Titor Foundation, through which they sold books and merchandise. Larry Haber has consistently denied involvement in creating the Titor character, maintaining his role as merely representing the interests of the John Titor Foundation. Whether John Titor was a real time traveler, a clever storyteller, or something else entirely will remain the subject of debate. But his story remains a fascinating case study in the power of the internet to create, perpetuate, and immortalize modern legends. Thank you for tuning in today. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the Mystery Library. Enable notifications so you don't miss a single upload. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here, and until next time, stay wondrous, my friends.